a million, Emer. Distinguished members of the European Parliament, ministers, deputies, friends, colleagues. It's a real honour for me to be here with you this evening. It's a real honour to have been invited to address you by the Parliament magazine. And I really do appreciate this opportunity. There's a great buzz around the place, as you can hear, and it's fantastic, and we're really excited that that there are so many people who have taken the time to come along and to hear from us and enjoy a few drinks and hopefully have a really good evening. There are a lot of familiar faces in the audience. A lot of people who I have come to know over the last 18 months or so as we have been preparing for the Irish presidency. As Emer mentioned, I have been in Strasbourg for plenary sessions, I think 10 out of 12 sessions in the last year. And obviously on regular and frequent visits to committees and to meet with rapporteurs and chairs and members of the different political groups, and you have visited us in Dublin in preparations for the presidency, so I think it's fair to say that we're well acquainted. I also see a lot of familiar faces from my past when I was involved in European youth politics. It seems like a long time ago, but it's also good to see so many people who have been involved in different political youth organisations contributing and still participating in life here in the Parliament, and I want to just welcome that also. I'd like to particularly thank the Parliament magazine. I think it plays an extremely important role in highlighting the broad range of very, very complex work which is going on in the European Parliament. And it does a great job in trying to make it more accessible to the European Union citizens and to people who are interested in following the European agenda. I obviously particularly welcome the current edition with a focus on the Irish presidency. Nothing to do with the fact that I'm featured on the front page, but it is great, and we appreciate that opportunity to communicate in that way the priorities of our presidency. Last week, as Emer said, the Taoiseach, our Prime Minister, addressed the plenary session in Strasbourg. He set out the Irish presidency's priorities in broad terms and had an opportunity to have a very good exchange with the leaders of the political groups and indeed with a wide range of MEPs across the political spectrum. I also had the opportunity to go into a bit more detail in presenting our priorities to the Conference of Committee Chairs. So, as you're aware, we have 20 ministers in Brussels today and tomorrow, addressing, I think, 26 different committee hearings. So I hope that gives you a flavour of our commitment to the European Parliament, our commitment to a really good and strong and deep and constructive working relationship between the Council and the Parliament. We find this is not just imperative, it's not just essential on the basis of treaty changes under the Lisbon Treaty, but it really facilitates us, and it's a really important approach from the point of view of democratic accountability, from the point of view of transparency, and from the point of view of the best possible process of decision making. I don't want to go into too much detail on our presidency programme, but there are a few broad themes that I would like to just touch on. You'll be aware, and Emer has reiterated it, of our theme for our presidency, our slogan if you like, which is stability, growth and jobs. And I think that when we look around Europe at this point in time, we see a crisis in terms of unemployment and a certain sense of a crisis of confidence in the European project and in what it's all about, and whether Europe can continue to deliver for its citizens, and whether the European institutions and the European leadership has the capacity to deliver for its citizens. And that's a real challenge for us, a really important one that we intend to embrace as presidency, and one that I know that the European Parliament is very much committed to. So our first task is dealing with the question of stability. We have seen a lot of stability restored to the currency union in recent months over the last year, and we have seen a lot of measures, important measures that 4 or 5 years ago we couldn't have even conceived of. You know, whether it's the Fiscal Compact Treaty, whether it's the Six-Pack, all of the economic governance measures that have been agreed through a very difficult process between Council, Commission and Parliament, but it has been achieved, and I think we have to take great inspiration from that and great confidence about our capacity to move forward now and to build on those foundations which have been laid. So that's the first step, and we as Presidency of course will manage the European semester process. We will ensure that all of the economic governance elements are managed well and competently, and we will work constructively with the European Parliament and indeed with national parliaments in that process, and it's absolutely vital from the point of view of legitimacy and accountability that that is the case. Building on that, we want to really inject some momentum into the growth agenda, and this is the biggest challenge facing the European Union right now. We have to grow our economy, and we have to do it through a collective effort. That means that we have to put aside some of the traditional concerns that we might have had about deepening the single market, about moving forward on the concrete proposals to build a genuine digital single market. We have to progress difficult questions like data protection, e-signatures, some of these dossiers that have posed challenges for member states in the past. We have to move forward, and we want to do that collectively with the European Parliament. On top of that agenda, we want to focus on looking outwards and exploiting the potential that exists within our globalised world to grow our economy and to build links with other parts and regions of the world who are emerging, whose economies are growing. So we're seeking out new opportunities, trade agreements with new partners, trade agreements with Eastern partners from Asia, with Canada, and most particularly from the Irish Presidency's point of view, we have an ambitious challenge, which is to conclude a negotiating mandate for an EU-US trade agreement by the end of our presidency. And I think if we can do that, we have the potential to really contribute to the growth agenda of the EU, and jobs and employment can and will flow from that. I've mentioned a lot of the difficult decisions that have been taken. We have accelerated the process of building an architecture for the currency union and for a deeper political union at EU level. And now we have to if you like, buttress that with a very strong sense of legitimacy, accountability, and a much greater and deeper connection to our citizens. And this is a big challenge for us, but one that I passionately believe we can achieve. This is obviously European Year of Citizens. I launched an event this morning, a conference which involves civil society and NGOs, where there was an opportunity to talk about how we can take forward this European Year of Citizens. And I think that there are real opportunities for MEPs, particularly in light of European elections taking place next year, to connect with citizens, to start a dialogue, to build on the work which has already been initiated by Vice President of the Commission, Viviane Reding. And I really do call on MEPs and members of national parliaments and ministers, and we as Presidency, we will certainly build on that work and help to shape a really strong engagement during European Year of Citizens. Yesterday in Dublin, I hosted my counterparts, the European Affairs Ministers from all over the EU 27 member states, and we had a really good and detailed discussion about how we can strengthen the so-called fourth strand of the Van Rompuy process. Again, democracy, legitimacy, accountability. And we had some really good output from that meeting, in concrete proposals about involving national parliaments and the European Parliament in the European semester process, concrete proposals about European political parties being strengthened, and I know that that's an agenda that's being pursued by the AFCO committee here in the European Parliament. The need for our European political parties to put forward candidates for the presidency of the European Commission. That is something that we are fully and full square behind. So there are changes, and there's still a lot of scope to build on the new capacities which the people of Europe conferred on us through the Lisbon Treaty. And we really need to exploit that to its maximum to ensure that we really do build a meaningful connection with our citizens. And the final point, if I may, also at the informal Council for European Affairs Ministers yesterday in Dublin, we met with all of the candidate countries, and I think this is a really important agenda. The reunification of Europe has not yet been completed, and we have a lot of work to do with our friends from the candidate countries, from the aspiring candidate countries of the Western Balkans, to encourage them, to bring them with us on the path to European democracy. And those countries, just 20 years ago, many of them were just reeling in the aftermath of very, very bloody conflict and war. And we have a vested interest in ensuring that those countries are supported, that they are encouraged, and that they see themselves as Europeans whose ultimate destination is part of our European family, part of the European Union. And I, as Minister for European Affairs of Ireland, will be pushing that agenda and working on that agenda over the months ahead. And I know that we have great support in the European Parliament in doing so. I just want to conclude by thanking everybody here, particularly thanking Aviva, thanking the Parliament magazine, thanking all of you for your very kind attention. Thank you for the courtesy, for the friendship that you have already extended to the Irish presidency. And I'm going to take a little bit of an opportunity here to thank you in advance for all of the support and cooperation that you will show us throughout our presidency. We have a big agenda. We want to be able to celebrate with you at the end of June a successful 6 months, a successful 6 months for the Council, a successful 6 months from the point of view of the Commission, and particularly a successful 6 months from the point of view of the European Parliament. And I think all of that combined will absolutely ensure that, most importantly, it is a successful 6 months for our citizens, for the people of Europe. Thank you very, very much.